Dan.
Welcome.
Jill, yes, hi, nice to see you.
Yeah. Please, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes, my name is Dan Fox. I'm a Principal Specialist Solutions Architect and I work in the serverless group. And I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about the AWS Step Functions workshop.
So Dan, tell us, what is step functions?
I'm glad you asked. Step Functions is it's a low-code visual workflow service that developers can use to build a wide variety of distributed applications. They use it to automate IT and business processes, build data and machine learning pipelines. I know customers that are using Step Functions for CI/CD pipelines. So it provides integrations with over 220 different AWS services and 10,000 API actions. Yeah, so it's a service that provides really excellent service orchestration. But in general, I would say the buzz around it, in my opinion, is that it's just a really exciting service. It generates a lot of talk value among my SA colleagues, solution architect colleagues. A lot of them are talking about this as sort of a paradigm shift in software development, offering a new top layer of abstraction for cloud native applications. And I'll say one more thing about it. Step Functions has one of the most awesome user interfaces that I think AWS has ever created. And I'll show it to you a little bit later in a demo, but it's just a really delightful experience to be in there, their drag and drop interface in Workflow Studio and just using the service. So I'll stop there. I could go on for a long time, but yeah, that's Step Functions, I guess, in a nutshell.
Sweet. So Dan, I think that you said that you've actually been in the serverless world for a while. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, kind of how you got into this?
Yeah, well, I got in through failure. So I have a great failure story to tell you, but it was exciting. I was the CTO of a startup called Rep Health. And we were building a system to track assets and people in hospitals, and specifically in the OR suite. I don't know how much you know about healthcare and hospitals, but hospitals make a lot of their money in the OR suite. That's why surgeons get paid so much money. But they're notoriously inefficient. And if you can improve the efficiency of an OR suite by even 5 or 10%, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business. And we had a couple different innovations. We had one hardware innovation. We were using something called ultra wideband technology to track assets. Basically, it's a lot of people use Bluetooth to track assets, but with ultra wideband, you could detect the amount of time it takes to broadcast a signal from one chip to the next within microseconds. And then if you put fixed location anchors in the ceilings of hospitals, you could triangulate the distance to a fourth point within 10 centimeters accuracy, and we were able to do that. On the software side, we decided to build our entire production stack in serverless. And so I'm just a person who doesn't like to be woken up in the middle of the night when a server goes down. So I was like, this serverless stuff is pretty cool. I'm going to check it out. And so we just used it to great success, and it allowed us to really accelerate our development. And then what happened was 3 weeks in March, despite having lots of enthusiasm from hospitals and prototypes and potential sales, COVID hit, and hospitals were turning their OR units into ICU units for COVID patients. And even if they wanted to afford us, they couldn't bring us in because of the infection risk. So we went from having a lot of potential customers and a few actual customers to actually 0 customers within the course of 3 weeks. So that was sad for me. However, I was like, I think this serverless stuff really is amazing. And I wonder if AWS would have me. So I called up the head of serverless and I was like, hey, I really like what you're doing. Can I join you and help? And I joined the team about 2 years ago. And so there's definitely a silver lining to my failure story.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
So today you're going to talk about a workshop, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of the development process?
Yeah, absolutely. So this workshop is called the AWS Step Functions Workshop. And I'm one of the authors, but there's a great team of people working on this together. And we've So I want to appreciate all those people who have helped work on it. But it's basically a way to learn step functions. And so the analogy that I make is like, how do you learn something? Like if you're learning, Jillian, if you were going to learn a new language, would you go read a dictionary? You probably wouldn't do that. I mean, some people might,
No.
but so we have great documentation. I mean, step functions documentation is amazing, but it's a reference guide, right? And reference guides are important. You need them, but you might not learn really well using reference guides. And so that's where workshops come in, and they allow you. They're basically it's a learning environment. We deploy code to your AWS account, or allow you to deploy it, and they're artifacts that then you can engage with and understand how they work. And we have some code that's like a little bit broken, and so you go in and then you fix it, and then you understand how all the pieces work together. So you don't have to do a lot of work. We try to do like 80 or 90% of the work for you, and then illustrate that, like that 10% that you really need to understand and work with in order to understand the concept. So yeah, it's a learning tool.
Who do you think is like the perfect person, or maybe personas that would really benefit from step functions, and who should actually be going through this workshop?
Good question. So anyone wanting to learn techniques for coordinating and orchestrating application workflows. Pardon me, I'm just going to take a quick drink of water.
Water,
So let's.
And
human
there's also a
needs,
survey.
not
So
allowed.
yeah, I guess while Dan's finishing his water, there's been a survey that's been in the chat. So please fill out the survey. We want to hear your feedback.
You can also get a $10 gift card.
Oh yes,
Ooh,
that's
nice.
huge.
Yeah, we've actually got a quick question about step functions
Okay.
from the chat. They're asking about use case and what's a situation where you tried to apply it and any challenges faced.
I mean, you're just teeing me up for like the easiest question of all time. I recommend that you use the workshop. I mean, if you want to really try to figure out how to use features in a real world scenario, this workshop is built for you. We have like, error handling cases, we have deployment cases, we go through all of the different states, we go through task orchestration patterns. So basically you can look at the workshop and if there's something that you're not really understanding about step functions, you can choose a module and say, hey, I want to learn about this, and then take the module. Each module is only like 10 or 15 minutes. They build on each other in terms of teaching, but technically they're all independent. So if you want to just go in and choose module 7 because that's the module that you're really not understanding, then by all means do that. You can do that technically.
All right, so it sounds like we're in the right place.
I came to the right place. What an easy question.
Awesome. So can you give us a little taste of this delightful workshop?
Sure. Yeah, I think it probably would make the most sense for me to tell you a little bit about step functions first. And then it'll just be pretty brief. We'll go through, kind of the intro portion of the workshop. And then I know that people on this channel are very technical and they like to get into code. So we'll do a live demo, which is always a risky proposition, but I'm willing to put myself out there and do it. So that'll be exciting. So how's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So welcome to the AWS Step Functions Workshop, and thank you for having me here. So the first thing I just want to talk about is like, this is an orchestration service. Let's talk about signs that you might need an orchestration service. Why might you need one? So do you have an application that spans multiple AWS services? Is the sequence of service interaction important to your application? Does your application want to manage state between AWS service calls? Do you have an application workflow that requires human intervention, somebody to go in and actually make an approval, let's say? Does your application contain workflow patterns like decision trees, branching logic, parallel processing, retries, and error handling? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you might benefit from step functions. All right. What are some of the most common orchestration patterns that we see in applications? So one is you may want to sequence your tasks. For example, you need to perform fraud detection, and then based on the results, you can approve or deny a transaction. You may want to retry failed tasks. So for example, you may have a downstream service that occasionally fails. You may want to implement retry intervals, maximum attempts, back off rates. You might want to run tasks in parallel. For example, a customer purchase could trigger services for accounting, inventory, fulfillment, and shipping. You may want to select tasks based on the data that you receive. For example, you may have user-generated data that has different processing and storage requirements based on its country of origin. Or you may just want to implement a try, catch, finally flow control pattern in your application. If service orchestration seems useful to you, then you might benefit from step functions. So what is the step function service? We talked about it briefly. It's a low-code visual workflow service that can provide orchestration for other AWS services, supporting common workflow patterns, and simplifying the implementation of common tasks. We want you to try to be able to focus on higher value business logic. So let's talk about some of the primary concepts with step functions. And the first one that we'll cover is the concept of workflows. So what's a step function workflow? A workflow is a map of all of the logical pathways that can be executed within an application. In step functions, workflows are written using a syntax called Amazon States Language, or ASL. We'll call it ASL. We'll be learning more about ASL in this session. Workflows are often referred to as state machines. They're sometimes used synonymously, and state machines are composed of steps called states. And a state machine can be used to orchestrate multiple other AWS services. Each step within a workflow is called a state, and a typical workflow is composed of multiple states. Here are some of the primary states within step functions. You have a choice states, parallel states, map states where you want to create dynamic branches of parallel execution. So a variety of different logical constructs that enable you to design very flexible workflows. Step functions also has input and output processing for data. So basically, when you start a step functions workflow, you pass into it JSON. And then that JSON gets passed to, from the initial state of the workflow to the next state to the next state. And there are tools within step functions for you to be able to receive JSON, manipulate it, and pass it on to the next state as output.
So we've got a question from the chat, which is, do we have any customers we can talk about who are already using step functions?
We absolutely do. I wish I could tell you one. I want to check to make sure people are publicly referenceable before I talk about specific customers. But I will say that in general, there are very common household name customers that use this in production. Names that you would definitely recognize in financial service and insurance and media and entertainment. I mean, it's used very broadly by a wide variety of customers, and I don't want to get in trouble.
That's good.
Okay. Service integrations is one of the most interesting feature launches that Step Functions did in the last couple of years. So Step Functions integrates with over 220 other AWS services and 10,000 API actions. So you can pull in other services and execute APIs. And the Step Function service, they are expanding these numbers as we continue to grow our services and features and APIs at AWS. There's two different flavors of workflows. So they're workflow types. Standard workflows are designed to support long-running, durable, and auditable workflows. These could be workflows that may need to durably take long pauses, or possibly even require human intervention. And then we have the express workflow type, and that's designed for high-volume event processing. So think of like AOT data ingestion, or streaming data processing, or mobile application backends, things like that. We're going to get into Workflow Studio. I'm going to show you this interface. It's awesome. If you have a console like open right now, I just go in and check it out. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And then there's task orchestration patterns as well. So basically, this is where you can call a service integration and tell it to proceed immediately after you call the integration. You can do sync polling, so you can tell a service to execute, and step functions will just continue to pull that service until the underlying task is complete before advancing. And then the callback pattern is something that's super cool, and I'm actually going to demonstrate that. I think this is the one thing I want to demo in the workshop. Basically, step functions will call a service and pass a task token, and then pause. And what happens to that task token is then up to you. You can take that task token and give it to a human so that they can click on a link and approve something. It can go to a third-party system that you don't even control. But then basically, you can send the task token back to step functions with a succeed or fail message, and then step functions will advance once it receives that callback. So that's kind of what I want to demo for you today in code. Should we move to a demo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go.
Sweet. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this screen. And I'm going to share my other. How we doing?
We are, I think, in business.
Awesome. So you can see here that we've got 10 different modules, and we talk about different task patterns. We have the callback task token, which I'm going to show you. Talk about choice state and map state, input and output processing. We have a pattern where we use API gateway and parallel state with express workflows.
Yeah,
that's a
can we
common
actually
pattern.
just zoom in a little bit on the text? It's a bit small on the screen.
Yeah, let me do that. How's that?
Much better. Beautiful.
Okay. So let's get into it. Wait for callback with task token. And this is just going to give you kind of an idea of how this workshop works. So the wait for callback feature, as I described, provides a way to pause a workflow indefinitely until a task token is returned. And you can take that task token with a send task success or send task failure call to step functions to cause the workflow to advance again. So I'm going to show you a broken state where it's kind of like a circuit, right? If the circuit's broken, then it doesn't complete. And so what we're going to do is essentially show you an architecture with a broken circuit, and then we're going to complete the circuit. All right, move through here. So this is the architecture in general, right? We start with step functions. Step functions is going to send a message with the token to SQS, and then it's going to pause. And then SQS is going to, well, then you have a Lambda function that's going to retrieve that token from SQS and then pass that success callback with task token back to step functions. And right now, all of this architecture exists on the account. It's deployed as part of the workshop, but what's broken is the Lambda function is not sending the callback back to step functions. So let's just take a look at it for a second. Here's the step functions console. And before I actually go anywhere, I want to show you Workshop Studio, just so you can kind of get an idea. Workflow Studio, excuse me. So this is like this is Workflow Studio. You can see it's like a really nice drag and drop set of controls here. If I wanted to add a choice state, I could do that. And then if I wanted to add a parallel state here, I could do that. If I wanted to add an action, like invoking a Lambda function here, I can do that. And you can see how easy and kind of delightful it is to play with this. And then if there are additional configurations in each state or SDK integration, I can click on this thing and I can say, okay, I want to send to this particular Lambda function, for example. So just a really delightful experience. I encourage you to play around with it, but also want to move on to the wait for callback state machine. So we're just
somebody who's excited about the task token feature.
Oh, that's Tanya. She's a friend of mine and also a colleague who works on the step function service team. What's she saying?
Well, that you can easily get a response back from another service while your step function waits.
Absolutely, yeah. So, okay, let's start an execution here, and we're going to see what happens. You can see that I can put some JSON in here. I'm just going to leave the default JSON. And now this is running. And you can see basically it's just kind of stuck in this state. It's in a blue state and it's waiting for the callback to happen, and the callback's not happening. So it's just going to stay paused here because the circuit's broken. So we can go and check out SQS. This is my SQS. This is the SQS queue that is referred to in the state machine here. So you can see, we'll look at the state machine.
Dan, you mentioned blue states. So there, it's color coordinated, the states in the UI?
Yeah, absolutely. This graph inspector actually shows you the progression of the specific workflow that you've the execution of the workflow. So as the state machine advances, you'll see that this graph inspector will change different colors. So you can actually visually watch the progression of your workflow.
I love stuff like that. I feel like it's so lacking in so many orchestration services where, you know, you just have to be reading like a JSON file or something.
Yeah, you're looking at logs, you know, and we do have logs. We do have logs if you want those. And some people, obviously those are necessary, but like to visually understand where you are in the workflow immediately is really nice. So we'll edit the state machine, and I'm going to show you the states language here, the Amazon states language. You can see that I'm sending to SQS, right? And you'll recognize that this is the queue. I'll go to this queue and we'll show it to you. But this is, you know, my queue. And then I'm also have specified the wait for task token parameter in this method. And then
zoom in again, Dan?
Pardon me?
Can we zoom in a bit again?
Yeah. That's really big. Yeah, so you can see that I'm specifying as a parameter the specific SQS queue, and then I'm saying, you know, the resource, I did it reverse. The resource comes first, where I'm saying I'm going to go to SQS, and I also want to implement the wait for task token pattern, and then this is the queue URL that I'm sending to. So we'll take a look at that in just 1 second. I'm going to go smaller again so I can show you the Workflow Studio, and what's happening here is you can see that you're going to start. We're going to go to SQS here, wait for the callback, and then it's going to either notify success or notify failure. Now, what you're not seeing here is the Lambda function, because the Lambda function isn't actually specifically part of this workflow. We're going to pretend that it's a total third-party service that we don't even know anything about, and this state machine certainly has no awareness of the Lambda function. So let's go take a look at the SQS queue here. You can see this is the SQS queue. You recognize that queue name. And then we'll go to the Lambda function here. The Lambda function is pointed at this SQS trigger. Same one here. And then let's look at the code. Now, are you able to see the code here, or do you need it a little bit bigger?
A little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Let's do that. How's that?
I think we could go one more.
One more. Let's keep going.
Dan, we also have a question from Glupland. I'm sure a lot of people are curious. Is this service entitled in the free tier?
Oh, is there a free tier?
Yeah, it's in the AWS free tier.
Tanya, can you verify? Because Tanya's on. She's the expert. I don't want to speak. I know that there's a free tier. I'm not sure.
Verified. Or rather, Corey did, it looks like.
Corey, thank you. So the answer is yes, there is a free tier. Maybe in the chat, Corey could specify what the free tier is so that you guys could respond to the question. So let me know, Corey, when you've got that information. Meanwhile, I want to show you this, this function. So what you can see what the function is doing here is it is taking the event here, and it is pulling from the event this task token, right? That's our task token that was given as a message to SQS. And then you can see here that this is the broken circuit. So what we want to do is to take the task token and then send it as a parameter to the send task success method of step functions. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this. Whoops. and then I'm going to deploy it. Okay, so now when I go back to step functions, and I start an execution, you can see this one's still running. It's waiting. It'll wait there for like a year. So then I'll start another execution here. This is the part of the live demo that you're always like, okay, is it going to work? So we'll just wait for a couple of moments. Meanwhile, did we have an answer to that question? Oh, there it is. We went to green.
So, yeah, I mean, while that's waiting, one thing I've helped customers go through a lot of different workshops, and one common thing I see is they go through the workshop and they're like, this is awesome, but then how do I actually apply it to my current application or what I'm doing? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there are code samples in here. So when you go to any of these different modules, we actually give you code that gets deployed into your environment, into your AWS environment through into your account through CloudFormation templates. So there are actual specific code samples that you can use to bootstrap your application. If you want, let's say that you are struggling with error handling, you can go into the error handling module, and we actually have CloudFormation templates that you can use and deploy here into your account that contain actual code. I mean, so
it's like the easy button.
It's the easy button.
I
Yeah.
love an easy button.
Yeah. So as you can see, we got to green here. Green means that we have successfully passed a state. So the circuit is completed, and visually we can see, okay, there's an indicator that we've notified that the callback is completed. We got notified of success, and now, well, you know, we're ready to move on to the next module.
Awesome. That was a fantastic workshop. I am going to admit that I really did not understand step functions well before this session. So you have at least converted one person to your cause, and it sounds like a lot of people in the chat are also very excited about it.